Good morning. Okay. So I just wanted to check and confirm that everything is working. All right. So we did a double check to make sure we're good here. And we're just checking the delays and everything right now. We're checking the audio. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, good morning. Sounds good. What's going on, you guys? Good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday. All right. Yeah, let me know if you guys can hear it. We are totally about to do this crazy big long broadcast podcast here. I'm about to tell you guys everything that has happened to me over the last 4 and 5 months, everything that I've experienced and been through, all of these new wild and insane episodes coming up. And we're also doing it all on brand new streaming software. I've run OBS Studio. I've got a bunch of new GoPros that I bought, and I'm running the new DJI wireless mic systems now. So please let me know if everything looks good and sounds good. And then we're going to go ahead and kick this party off. I have made my coffee. Oh, cheers, which I may or may not have put a little bit of vanilla whiskey in there this morning just because to calm down the emotions, because this is going to be a really wild and intense story. And to be honest, from the bottom of my heart, I've been waiting weeks to explain all of this to you guys. And so let me go ahead and drop this bar down. Okay, studio lock. Man, I've got 5 out of 5. Okay, awesome. So the audio is clear. How is the video? Because this is I am finally live streaming from a live action GoPro camera through OBS Studio through my laptop right now. So if the video is great and the audio is great, then I am so excited for this new this new venture that now I can actually podcast and talk and stream with you guys and live stream all over the place. So good morning to React PT, one of my big fans. I don't know whether to say Hameen Fuller or Jameen Fuller. Let me know. I don't want to say it incorrectly. Shout out to you guys. React PT says 5 out of 5. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. All right, audio looks good. Doesn't look like I'm maxing out or anything. I don't think I'm too close to the camera. Everything is definitely solid, crisp, clear. Yes, awesome. Okay, not only did I updated my internet, I updated all my gear, tech, and software, so I'm super stoked for this. All right, you guys, so welcome to Millennial Legends 2025. It has been a wild, wild journey over the last 6 months. Everything I have done, been through, experienced, where I've been, what I've done, it's really kind of just... Oh man, it's been a journey. Oh, it's been quite a journey, and I have to admit that some things that happened to me, and we're gonna get to all of it here in this story. So grab your coffee, grab your popcorn, and as soon as we as we get through all this, you're gonna realize that some of the things that happened to me were so unexpectedly and tragically dramatic and insane and dangerous and even deadly that, I'm hoping that there will be no tears or emotions today, but if there are, it is what it is, and we will get through it all step by step together as a Legends family. I've got everything written down and scripted, as always, on my journal, so let's hopefully that we can get through all of this. There will be some ads because of... everything going on. So if an ad pops up or in any of my streams, if it turns to an ad, depending on the country you're in, please comment next to it and let me know so that I know that there's ads coming through. Jamin Fuller. Sounds like Jamin. Okay. Oh man. Yeah, man, for real. It was pretty intense. And I think the first thing I have to admit to you guys is that I've waited. I've been scared. I've been emotional. I've been dealing with severe trauma and PTSD from some of the things that I went through, and I have been avoiding telling you guys some of this stuff, like, completely. Completely. So I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you guys watching and standing by for me. But I am officially back in the Philippines, which is obviously round one of what's going on right now. I'm back in the Philippines. Everything is good. It's been 6 months. I had to work. I had to sail. Let's see if these lights are going to work for me or not today. I had to sail roughly 15,000 miles from March until July, the end of July, and because of a couple different complications, one trip fell short, and then another trip fell short, and we'll get to all of that. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning here. So it was February, I was vlogging, and you guys know that as a sailing captain, Yeah, sorry, I'm reading your comments. I see that you post last night Fiesta games in Bohol, but I'm here for the backstories of your boat trip. All right, yes, 100%. I have new vlogs coming. I have new episodes coming. I've already uploaded one episode. I have 4 more I'm working on today and tomorrow, and they'll all be coming out this week sequentially. And then as we produce through this, I'll be talking about a lot more. So looks like we're at 1 of 2 ads. You guys can go ahead and skip those ads. You can skip the ads if you want to. The ads will play back for live play later on. So, all right, so it's March 21st. I've just completed vlogs. I set up a couple of auto uploads from when I was leaving. You guys know that I'm a sailing captain. I make my money abroad because legally, technically right now, until they finalize the digital nomad visa in the Philippines, I can't work here. So until I am a citizen and I'm married in this country and have a Filipino passport and a Filipino citizenship and the proper visas, I can't work in the Philippines. So I go abroad to work as a sailing captain. That being said, I have done everything in my power to be able to sail around the world. And I got a call in the beginning of March, and it was for a new owner, a new American owner, a guy named Robert Henry. To sail a beautiful Beneteau 57. He was buying it from a Slavic man that also lives in the Philippines, an expat foreigner, and he was buying the yacht and needed it sailed across the Pacific Ocean all the way to his home in Thailand where he lives with his ex-wife. That being said, I was like, you know, I talked to him a lot, and granted, we are all victims of our own decisions. You know, you make a step forward and you step in crap, you took that step. And so I was very eager to sail. I needed the log hours for some of my master certifications this year for captains and unlimited tonnage and things like that. So I really needed the log hours, so I was very eager to get a longer trip. So out of the 3 or 4 more safe and secure trips and job offers that I had given, I took the wild, crazy, risky job of a guy I didn't really know, that I didn't really vet, and we ended up sailing a lot less than I expected, but basically it was, when a sailing captain gets on a boat, we're supposed to, like as a delivery captain or as a charter captain, we're supposed to get on what we call turnkey boat. So I get on a boat, and that boat is working, and everything works. I turn on the keys, and we go. Maintenance, required maintenance, mass casualty maintenance, things like engines breaking, fires, flooding. I'm supposed to deal with those situations, but as a captain, I'm not an engineer. And if you want an engineer, you pay. It's like $200-300 an hour. And what ended up happening, long story short, with the boat is that there were so many things wrong with the boat that we ended up staying in French Polynesia for nearly 100 days, working and repairing and fixing the boat. And it ended up being like modern day slavery versus actual like work and sailing and captain work. Now people ask, well, why didn't you get up and go? Why didn't you leave when you were sailing around the world and go sail a different boat or something? Why did you stay and deal with having to repair and rebuild this boat? Number one, I liked the crews that I was gathering. I liked the location, number two. And number three, there was really good surf there and good fishing and good diving, and I really wanted to experience French Polynesia. And number four, there were also some other very famous vloggers there. Really famous vloggers like SV Delos, for one, Calico Skies, Brian from SV Delos, and Bill from Calico Skies. They were parked right next to us in the marina and then anchored right next to us in the bay. And it just provided a lot of really amazing opportunities for me, things that I did not want to miss or miss out on or lose opportunities with. So I stuck with it. Hold on, my lights are going out here. Live action at its finest. Okay. All right, we got one light up. Let's light up the second one now. Sorry about that. Just get my lights and cameras going here. Okay. All right, my lights are back on. Sorry. Okay, so, or not. Maybe they're charging. So there was a lot of reasons why I stayed on this charter, but the hard part for me was that during that whole time on the boat with Robert, the owner, Robert is a very special person and ended up having some, I would say he's maybe, and this is not me. Yeah, I know. Delos is an amazing people. So I got to meet and work with them, which was like probably 80% of why I stayed and dealt with what I dealt with. But Robert is, for the lack of a better term, autistic in a way where he is a genius. He's a retired engineer. He is a savant genius when it comes to mathematics and mechanical engineering and things like that. The guy has amazing positive traits and aspects to him. But at the same time, he has zero empathy for humans. Zero remorse, zero love or passion for anything, and besides whatever he wants directly. And to the point where, like, when we ran out of water on the boat and the water maker wasn't working, he was like, you can just drink tank water or go fill up a bucket and a hose and drink that rather than like buy us jugs of water. And those were like little things. And then like yell at us for not moving fast enough or sitting down and taking breaks in between work, or like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon after almost 10 or 11 hours of working on the boat, we want to go swimming before the sun goes down. He would like tell us we couldn't, or we couldn't use the dinghy. So it was kind of like this floating prison. And little by little, the morale and the love and the passion on the boat got worse and worse and more toxic and toxic. And I ended up losing my first set of crew. Now, I'm going to give a shout out here because I know that these guys are going to watch this eventually. John and Peter, the first set of crew that I had, great guys. Great guys. Peter, a little young, a little party-headed. John, a little stubborn with his comfort and air conditioning stuff, but great guys nonetheless. The first crew that I had on board on those couple of live broadcasts that I did, they were amazing people. So big shout out to crew number one. Crew number two was the Russian girls and two of the local Tahitian guys helping me out. Big shout out to them. Big shout out to Ben and God, so many of my friends. There were some really amazing people. And then the Russian girl. So crew number one, after a couple of weeks, they split. They walked away. They left. They actually left with the previous owners. When the previous owners left after the transition, which was horrible, my crew left because of the conditions and the treatment that the owner of the yacht was treating them with. And I respect them for that. Crew number two left, same exact thing. And then crew number three, which was the next few videos that I did with the beautiful blonde girls, Heather and Danielle, and then Julian, the guy from Argentina. Amazing people, amazing crew. And again, at that point, things got so awkward and so toxic with Robert, the owner of the boat, that we ended up just having to like kind of separate during the day or separate during the afternoon. And like, we didn't talk, and it was very weird that like the crew was hanging out, but Robert was just like in his cabin. And I don't know, things just got really, really awkward. And as a captain, I'm supposed to be able to mediate and mitigate all of these things. And I ended up kind of just like not being able to after almost 100 days of dealing with Robert's stuff, that I couldn't really deal with it anymore. And finally, I noticed where, now this is a very common thing with yacht owners, especially first-time yacht buyers. When you buy a yacht, you're supposed to have 200 to 300% of what you're spending on the yacht sitting in the bank ready, because you're going to spend that much again. BOAT, bust out another 1,000. Robert bought the boat, and then within 2 months started using his final credit cards to like buy groceries and buy gas and things like that. And I started to notice these things, and I was like, hey, Robert, we're pushing past my contract dates. My contract is for June 15th. I have another contract for another yacht in July. If you need me, which you clearly do, for the rest of June and then for July, I need to respectfully ask you to cover me for my gig in July and pay what they're going to pay me, and then pay me the rest of what would be owed for the month of June. And I asked him this in front of the crew so that everything could be open and honest. And he looked at me and said, I don't have any more money. I don't have any more money for you. I can't even pay you what I owe you now. And I didn't think that that would happen that fast. I know that most boat owners go broke pretty quick, just like most expats who move to Asia go broke pretty quick. But I didn't think it was going to happen that fast. And so when it did, it was really a shock and awe thing for us. And the crew didn't know what to do. I felt horrible because I had brought the crew on board and gathered this family, and then I didn't know what I was going to do, because if I were to leave immediately and fly from French Polynesia, the first half of the paycheck that Robert had given me would be spent on an emergency flight home, and I would be 3 months out of work with zero money, and I couldn't have it that way. So I was almost kind of stuck. So at that point, I kind of knew that like things weren't going to go the way we needed it to. And he really looked at us and was like, I don't have money for any of you. I can't pay you. I can't pay you. I don't even have money to put gas in the boat right now. Now, whether that was true or not, or whether he was, as they say, Jewing us or hiding the money or trying to be conservative in any way, I don't know. I'm not his accountant. I'm not his banker. I'm not his wife. But he looked at us and said he didn't have any more money. So I had to assess that situation for myself, and I had to then take what was mine, the rest of my livelihood, the rest of my capabilities, and find a better path. So what I did was, I knew that I had a possible gig in July coming up. So I called that owner, which was my previous owner from the yacht last year that I worked on. And when I got a hold of him, he said, absolutely, I need you. I need you now. I need you here and ready to go by the 1st of July, no matter what, maybe even the 25th of July or the 25th of June. And I said, oh, wow, okay, well, that's serious then. I'm ready to go. This job's not working out. And he immediately, because he's an amazing man, his name is Bo. You guys know him. You've seen him in episodes. And Bo looked at me and said, on the phone, he's like, bro, let's go. I'll buy you a ticket right now. Come home. Get to work for me. Let's do this thing. And I said, let's go. And my friends with the other yachts, Delos and those guys, helped me out and motivated me to leave, and I made the decision to leave. The decision was only hard to leave based on the crew that I was leaving behind on board with Robert. But at the end of the day, I have to take care of myself. Everyone knows that. We're all adults here. And so the wild, crazy conspiracy problems, health and hygiene, repairs and constant maintenance, dingy, awkward, toxic situation that was Robert and Sailing Vessel Second Life ended. And I took a deep breath and a big step, and I stepped off his yacht, onto my friend's yacht, and I sailed away and headed for the airport. And I made my way heading towards newer, brighter paths. Excuse me. Apparently, I don't know how to drink coffee. So nearly 100 days in the Pacific, trying to get a yacht going and trying to work with a very difficult owner, and I left. And that was why, during all of that, we did not have Starlink. We did not have working internet, cell phone coverage. We didn't have running water. And so that was why I went live from Tahiti, and then I stopped going live. And anywhere in the small island chains where we were, I couldn't get good internet to upload or do anything. And so even trying to like upload a 20-minute episode was going to take like 15 hours based on the internet out there. So I just said it's better to not put out crap and just record everything and then come back and address it later. And that's what I did. And so I have all these episodes coming out over the next couple weeks. You're going to see everything that went down, and we'll go from there. Let's see here. It was time to go. New horizons after 100 days. Yes. All right. So it's been nearly 100 days. I'm leaving. I'm now on my way to Florida. Let's see here. On the chat says, you followed Delos for like 12 years? That's awesome. That is awesome. React PT has followed Delos for 12 years. So now I have Bill and Brian in my corner. They are my friends. They are my supporters. They're going to watch this later, I'm sure. And I'm really hoping that I get to work alongside Delos and Calico over the next couple of months and years. And I'm really looking forward to the possibility of maybe even being there for Delos 2.0's launch here soon. So big ideas there. So yeah, if you know Delos, then you know how big of an opportunity that is for me. So hang on and stand by to stand by. It's going to be amazing opportunities for us there. Okay, deep breaths. Now let's talk about part 2 of what happened here for a minute. So I was really excited for this next trip. I was really excited for this new opportunity, for this new yacht and everything that was going on. And I really was looking forward to, everything just working out for me. And like, I knew that on Sailing Vessel Joy, which we've seen before, I have good internet. I have good cell phone coverage, great power, great air conditioning. I can edit, I can work on my computer. So things were going really well. And I was very excited for it. And when I got there, I was told that I wasn't allowed to talk about anything yet and that I had to wait because it was kind of like a top secret thing, which to hear a bunch of civilians tell a military man that this is a top secret expedition and we have to be careful with what we say was kind of laughable for me at first. And then over time, I started to understand what was happening and what the trip was based on, and very interested in how everything was going to go. And since then, it was supposed to be like a secret expedition, but the main financier of the expedition, the leader of the expedition, which I'll get to and explain, and you're going to see in my upcoming episode, everywhere we went, every country we went to, every bar we pulled into, every marina we pulled into, this top secret we can't talk about mission, he would just open up and tell everybody. The waitresses, the bartenders, the guy who came and helped refine our fuel and flush our fuel and clean our fuel systems out on the yacht. He sat there for 3 hours telling this guy about what we were doing on the expedition. So when I was worried about not being able to tell anybody, everyone on the boat told everyone we met about what was going on. So any agreement is null and void because the actual guy who told us we couldn't talk about it told everybody about it. So that opens up and allows me to tell you guys about everything. And I got all that on camera. The best part about this crazy story I'm about to tell you is I got it all on camera because I had the GoPros at this point. When I got back to America, I bought the GoPros, I bought the mics, and so everything you're about to hear happened on GoPro, on the microphone, recorded, live, and we're talking about giant swell, fire flooding, the boat almost sinking, giant waves to where a 60-foot mega catamaran is flying up and down, and it got insane. And so let's see here, what else? Pirates, we got attacked by pirates in the middle of the night. I'm going to talk about all that. So let's just start from the beginning. So if you go back to my SV Joy episodes from last year, when we were parked in the Bahamas in Nassau, in Paradise Island in Nassau, Bahamas, we were parked next to this mega yacht fleet of mega ships, And I got really, really excited about it because it was the Carl Allen fleet. Now, Carl Allen is a self-made billionaire, philanthropist, treasure hunter, historian, and salvage expert. This guy has a mega fleet of mega boats and yachts and amazing people and master divers and historians, and he travels the world searching for buried treasure, sunken ships, and this guy has actually found treasure. And I have wanted for years to work with someone like that. I studied history, I studied folklore, I studied piratology, to the point where, you know, pirates are part of my life. I am a generational sailor and captain. My father was a smuggler and sailor. My grandfather was a smuggler and sailor. It's part of my soul. It's part of my history. It's part of my culture. I grew up in the Caribbean. I'm a South Florida born baby, grew up in the Caribbean, and I have a passion for treasure. And when I met the Carl Allen fleet and I met Carl Allen himself and was able to have drinks and go to the casino with him and talk to him for a little bit, I was really inspired last year. And evidently so was the owner of the yacht, the owner of Joy, and the brokers and everybody else. And I think that one thing led to another, and word of mouth got around, and the next thing I know, I'm a captain on a large catamaran sailing the Caribbean, apparently, but definitely, you know, looking for lost artifacts, history, trying to discover or uncover the tales of vessels or historical ships or historical fleets that were sunk or lost hundreds of years ago. And now, when it comes to treasure and it comes to sunken ships and things like that, the last thing you want to do is find treasure under the oceans and then pick it up and claim it and try to like take it and sell it or make money off of it. You don't want to do that. It takes years, litigation, courts, lawyers, fight after battle after battle after battle to be able to even maybe get that kind of treasure to go. And if you look up the history of the men around the world over the last 60 years who have found treasure and buried treasure in ships and sunken ships, like 99% of them don't get to keep any of it at all. And so I think the concept here was not to keep or find or hold on to any treasure or any artifacts of any kind. It was to maybe locate it and then maybe sell or pitch the idea to like History Channel or Discovery Channel or maybe even the Carl Allen fleet, and see if maybe they wanted to buy the knowledge or the information of where these things were, and then they do the battle. Sure. Needless to say, the expedition leader himself was he was a fanatic. He was, you know, a self-claimed historian, self-claimed treasure master, and I was just sitting there like, wow, okay, wow, this is interesting, wow, okay. He claimed to have a dive master on board. He claimed to be a dive master himself, an expedition leader, safety leader, all these things, and my job was just a captain, cook and chef, make sure there's good food, good drinks, and he was going to handle everything else, and he, as the expedition leader, was responsible for everything. And you know what? I'm in the Philippines. I live in the Philippines now, so this guy in America, who's technically from Argentina and Colombia or something, his name is Herman. Herman was in charge of everything else. Herman was responsible for everything else. So you're going to see in these upcoming episodes exactly who this person is and the kind of style he has. Now, remember, I'm there for Bo, the owner of the boat. I'm there for Joy, and I'm there to keep everyone safe while we're sailing and on the boat, and keep the boat safe and keep the boat afloat, no issues, and then continue on from there. And for me, that was my one and only responsibility on board. There was even a co-captain on board who could help me, like when I needed to sleep, he could sail the boat when I was asleep. And so there was an opportunity for everybody to safely operate on board sailing vessel Joy. Now, here's where it all gets crazy. We meet, we come together, we get the plans. There's There's a super genius guy from MIT, which if you're from abroad, you're not from America, MIT is like the top tier elite university in America where like the smartest people in the world go, rocket scientists, nuclear engineers, physicists, all that kind of stuff. So we had an MIT graduate scientist on board who was going to help us locate historical wrecks underwater. And he brought all kinds of fancy gear and equipment. We had the dive master who I guess in the 80s and 90s found treasure and knows how to do all those things. So diving, I didn't have to worry about. Electronics and technical stuff, I didn't have to worry about. Historian stuff, I didn't have to worry about. I just had to drive the boat. We've got one dive master and sailing captain. We have one sonar and magnetometer expert from MIT. We have the yacht owner. We have a yacht and sailing master on board, which is also the broker. We have one medic and trauma nurse who's also a sailing master on board. And then we have me. Little old me. So the plan was to chart towards dangerous and highly disputed waters in the Caribbean and hunt for mythical, amazing sunken wrecks. Now, a lot of people think, oh, buried treasure and pirates and folklore. It's just a myth. It's just, you know, something in movies and cartoons. But I will tell you that it's real. And whether you've seen Fool's Gold with Matthew McConaughey or Into the Blue with Paul Walker and Jessica Alba, it is real and it happens. And there's I think like just less than $1 trillion in gold, wealth, jewels, and salvage wrecks that are located all over the world. And so it's very, very possible that, you know, you can find one. And when after there's large hurricanes and large typhoons, excuse me, and the sand shifts and moves, you could very well you could just be like snorkeling and come across your own shipwreck and buried treasure. And so it's not uncommon that it happens. Where I'm from in Florida, there's like 3,000 to 4,000 shipwrecks that have not been found around the state of Florida. And hurricanes come through, and next thing you know, one just appears because the sand and the dunes shifted and the beach shifted. And so it's definitely possible to find things like this. When we took off from Florida, the weather was rough. It was as if Neptune, the god of oceans, himself was telling us, that treasure's mine, you can't have it. And I was like, you know, I was noticing that. The first 2 weeks, the weather was insane. You're going to see in the upcoming episode how, you know, this massive yacht was going up over the waves and then cresting and then coming down and slamming and then diving into the next wave like a submarine and then coming up. And I mean, we were getting beat and battered. Things on board the boat were breaking left and right. I was having to repair things. The other co-captain was having to help me and repair things. His name was Tom. He is an amazing guy. Tom is such an amazing guy. I look forward to working with Tom many times over the next couple of decades. We ended up having fuel issues because of all the banging and sloshing. Somehow water got into our tanks. And it's not like a little thing. It's a major issue when water gets into your fuel tanks. So 3 weeks into this whole thing, we're like stuck a week behind schedule in a different country trying to get fuel flushed out, which means a guy pulls up alongside our yacht, pumps all the fuel out of our yacht, and then we pump clean fuel back into the yacht, and then we clean the tanks and scrub the filters and everything, and then we continue on. We had to do that several times because of how rough and crazy everything was. And then once we got to Jamaica, we met up with the rest of the crew. Half the crew was sailing with me, and half the crew was going to meet us in Jamaica. And when we got to Jamaica, we were almost 2 weeks behind schedule. And because these people were professionals and had their own jobs and careers, half the crew actually couldn't come with us. One of the people, which ended up, you know, it ended up putting kind of like a much bigger responsibility hat on me. But one of the crew was our trauma medic nurse and third sailing master. He ended up not being able to come on board with us, even though he paid for the trip, was part of a sponsor of the expedition, invested all of his time and money into it. He was actually not able to come with us. He met us for 2 days in Jamaica, helped me fix a bunch of things, walked me through his med kit, trauma kit, all the equipment, because you guys know I was trained as a Navy medic, as a military medic when I was in the military. So I was now the acting medic or acting trauma nurse on board the boat. He left all of his trauma gear on board and he flew home. And then we left from Jamaica. Now, as we were sailing between, this is where it gets crazy. As we were sailing between Jamaica and Haiti, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, the Haitian Straits, the Jamaican Straits, heading south into the Caribbean area. At 3 o'clock in the morning, we were I don't know how to say this for lack of a better term. We were attacked, we were bumped, and nearly boarded at 3 o'clock in the morning by what I can only describe to you as modern day pirates. Now, everyone knows that the country of Haiti is in extreme conflict and that there's civil war going on there and a lot of dangerous things happening there. And that Jamaica, being, you know, a much more beautiful, vibrant country, has its own problems, and it is in many ways a developing nation still. We don't say third world anymore. I guess that's supposed to be propaganda, racist and stuff. So we say developing nation. Jamaica is still a developing nation, and with being a developing nation, they still have a developing military and a developing Coast Guard. And there is still a lot of argument as to what happened exactly that night. Now, I have everything on camera, and I promise you're getting ready to see it. We're going to pause for ads. I can see that there's ads going on right now, so we're going to pause for 1 second. You guys comment, ask me things, pause, let me know if you have any comments or anything like that. Okay, skip ads. All right, so we're back from our regularly scheduled program. Thanks for watching the ads. So there's a lot that can be said and argued about what happened, but at the end of the day, I got it all on camera, and you're going to watch it all from beginning to end in my new upcoming episode, Pirates, Modern Day Piracy in the Middle of the Night. A brief recap. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was on watch. Dark, giant rolling seas. I'm down to one working engine. I have no sails because we're rolling with the wind. So there's no wind at all, so I can't sail. So I'm what they call under power. I have one working engine. I have one blown engine because of bad fuel. And so, as we say in the yacht world, I'm limping into port, we're headed for Port Royal. I'm like 10 hours from Port Royal going 4.5 knots. Very, very slow. Maybe like 5 or 6 miles an hour, which is maybe like 7, 8, 9 kilometers an hour, I think, for all the metrics out there. Going really slow, very vulnerable in the middle of the night. Obviously, I have on my lights, my navigation lights and everything, so I'm legal and proper and responsible. And out of nowhere, without any lights, without any warning, without any hail, hailing is where we're like, they call you on the radio and they're like, hey, we're coming to inspect you. We didn't get a hail. We didn't get a radio warning. We didn't get an audio warning. We didn't get a megaphone warning, lights flashing, high beams, anything. At 3 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden, boom, something bumps my boat. And I look over, and there's a little green light, and there is a massive military-looking boat. Not massive, but I mean still big, 40, 50 feet long, military-style, unmarked-looking boat, kind of like what the Coast Guard in America has nowadays, just right next to us. And I immediately grab my spotlight, because I always have a spotlight next to me as a captain when I'm driving, in case man overboard or objects in the water that we don't want to hit. And so I grab my spotlight. The camera isn't rolling at this point yet. The camera's sitting over here next to me. But I grab my spotlight and I look over, and all I see, okay, and I want to keep this as politically clean as I can say it, all I see is several military-aged males of African descent with large, long rifle guns, one of them pointed towards me, and they're not technically in uniform, they're in black and blue t-shirts. I do see some blue camouflage pants, but I don't see like life jackets. I don't see marks on the boat. I don't see, Navy, Coast Guard, white stripes, orange stripes, letters, lights, anything. I just see a couple of dudes on a boat with black and blue t-shirts on and big ass guns pointed right at me. They just bumped my boat. They're screaming at me and I can't really hear them because the wind, the engines, the sound. I'm way up on top of the yacht on the bridge, on the fly bridge driving. All I know is there's a bunch of homies next to me. They got guns. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm in the middle of the ocean. Sound the alarms. Mayday, mayday, mayday. I wake everybody up. I turn the lights on the boat so that everyone can get up. Everyone gets up. A lot of these guys, keep in mind, there are experienced sailors on board this boat. There's another sailing master on board. There's an expedition leader on board. Everybody jumps to it. Now, you guys are going to immediately ask me, do you have guns on board? Do you have weapons to defend yourself? Legally, there are several countries in the Caribbean that you cannot enter with guns. So legally, I will tell you, I had no weapons to defend myself. I had no guns, no legal firearm, ammunition, guns, to defend myself. That being said, pirates, Navy people, experienced sailors, they will tell you that probably one of the smartest things you can do. Now, I'm not saying I did this nor that I have one. You'll see what really happened when the episode comes out, but one of the recommendations that a lot of people give is that if you're going to sail through pirate waters or contested or dangerous waters, that you have what's called a burner gun. Just like when you watch gangster movies or TV and they have a burner phone or a burner gun, like a gun with no serial number on it, something really, really cheap, like a little 38 nose snub nose revolver or something. Something that if you need to defend yourself, you can defend yourself. But if authorities come on board, you can just, like, oh yeah, no, I don't have a gun, and throw it in the ocean. Now, those are called burner guns. I didn't have one of those. Maybe someone else on the boat did. You'll see that in the upcoming episode, the answers to that question. But what I did have on board to defend myself is a flare gun. Now, this flare gun is not like a little flare gun, put one shell in there, fire it up. The flare gun that we had on board to defend ourselves looks like, for lack of a better term, a bazooka. It is a cylinder, round cylinder, giant black machine gun looking thing that can carry multiple, like up to 10, 20 rounds of flare shells that look like shotgun shells. And you can then shoot flares like, and you can shoot flares pretty quickly and pretty accurately if you need to. It is, it's legal because it's a flare gun, and we did have that on board. And again, you're going to see all of these things in the upcoming episode. Heyman says, oh my God, I can't wait to see these episodes. Dude, I know. So these guys, and again, I have to be really politically correct here because I love Jamaica and I want to go back to Jamaica. And I don't want to upset anybody or offend anybody. There's two things you need to keep in mind real quick while I tell this story. Number one, I am a U.S. Navy veteran, and I am the grandson of a Coast Guard admiral, and I am the brother of Coast Guardsmen, best friend of Coast Guardsmen. I wanted to be in the Coast Guard. I ended up joining the Navy. I'm very proud of that. When I joined the Navy, I studied many things, even things that I wasn't involved in, I studied. The laws, maritime law, marine interdiction, vessel board search and seizure teams, anti-piracy teams, maritime law and jurisdictional authority in maritime law, who can board you, when, where, what, why, how they're supposed to do it, the right to defend yourself. These are all things that I know. And these are all things that I have vast knowledge and experience in. And I'll tell you from the bottom of my heart, the way that everything went down, whether these people were professional or not, everything that went down over the next 3 hours was absolutely unprofessional, absolutely reckless, dangerous, and to me, just insane. They bumped us. I spotlighted them. I saw the guns. I woke everybody up. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's, doing what they do. A couple of the guys were pretty smart. They started to pull up their phones and tablets and live stream their wives. And then their wives were live recording and live streaming what was happening, so that there were multiple witnesses, multiple recordings. And if something happened to us, Facebook and Facebook Messenger and all that was recording what was happening in case anything happened to us. So people are holding cameras up, people are recording live. At this point, I've got a GoPro up and running, and I'm like this with this, radio here, spotlight here, trying to drive the boat, trying to figure out what's happening. Obviously, I am the captain of the boat, so it is my job to handle what is happening at that point. What they first started to scream to us when they came on board, or when they came alongside us, was, we are... sorry, I'm answering questions. Were you still on the broke guy's yacht at this point, or was it the cool guy's yacht? Okay, this was expedition number 2. This was trip number 2, yacht number 2. This was the cool guy's yacht. This was Bo's giant catamaran, the Bali 5-4, aka Sailing Vessel Joy. This was the cool yacht with the cool owner, the guy I love very much, who's become like a brother to me. His kids are like absolute nieces and nephews to me. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Great question, Heyman. So what they started to scream, these suspected pirates, was, we are the Jamaican Coast Guard. We are here to board you immediately, take control of your vessel, and bring you into the closest port for inspection. I've sailed Jamaica many times. I've sailed the Caribbean many times. I was blown away by the way they were treating us, to what they were saying. They had no markings. They had no proof that they were Coast Guard. They had a couple of camouflage pants on and big-ass guns. And a big boat with really power. They had 300 VMAXs on the back of that boat, so there was no outrunning them. There was no getting away from these people. They were there to board us and take us into whatever port and do whatever they needed to do. Steal things, rob us, strip the boat. I've seen a million different situations go down like this. And I'll tell you from the bottom of my heart, they were not boarding my boat. I don't care who you are doing it wrong. There's no frickin' way that you are boarding my boat in the manner you are acting and the way you're acting. I have no radio. I'm on the radio trying to call them. I'm on the other radio calling Jamaican Coast Guard in Jamaica. I'm on the phone with Puerto Rican Coast Guard, Miami Coast Guard Station, everybody. No one knows who these guys are. Jamaican Coast Guard's not responding. No one in Jamaica, Port Royal, or any of the marinas in Jamaica are responding on the radio. Finally, the Port Royal, Kingston, Jamaica pilot's office, which is the ship maritime pilot's office that moves boats in and out, they answered my hails and my maydays, and they said, we are in contact with the Coast Guard Commandant. He will be contacting you shortly. And then I gave my number over the phone, a WhatsApp number, to the expedition leader's phone, and the Jamaican Coast Guard Commandant calls me. It's been an hour and a half at this point, and I'm yelling and screaming at them, and I'm telling them, don't you come near my boat. You are not allowed to come near my boat. I am under duress. I am under limited maneuverability at this time. I have appointments in Port Royal for maintenance tomorrow. You may not board my boat. And they backed off, especially when they saw the guys, the big flare gun. We were shining bright lights in their face. They backed off, and they started to stalk us from about 100 meters behind us for about almost 2 hours. And when the commandant of the Coast Guard, of the Jamaican Coast Guard, finally got a hold of me, first, he was really an amazing guy, and he apologized for the situation. And he said, let me get back to you to verify who that is. And it'll all be on, it's all on camera. You'll be able to see it here soon, I promise. But he says, he comes back and calls me about 30 minutes later, and he's like, Captain, I'm pretty sure that is my Coast Guard team. They have no radio or no communication, which to me, come on, it's 2025. These guys even have cell phones in their pockets. We're sending out a relief ship to come escort you safely into Port Royal. They'll be there in 2 hours. and we'll get you in safely. Okay, sure, thanks. End of discussion. The other boat followed us for about 45 more minutes, and then they turned off their light, and at that point I couldn't see them anymore. Whether they were still there or not, I don't know. Eventually, the Port Royal Coast Guard boat caught up with us, and the other boat disappeared. So whether they were legit or not, the Coast Guard showed up. They were legit. They safely escorted us in. They came alongside. They gave me advice. They're like, we advise you to come in this way on this port entry, not this port entry because it's dangerous. I explained to them I can't go that way. I don't have power or sail. And they were really, really awesome people. So big shout out to them. You're going to see the actual Jamaican Coast Guard, the guys who came on board my boat. They are amazing. But the guys who tried to board us at 3 o'clock in the morning and take us to some suspected port for inspection and somewhere else, no, homie. It wasn't flying that way. And, you know, whether they got on board or not, whether a shot was fired, whether anybody had any actual physical experience or not, an experience like that, a situation like that can be really intense for a lot of people. And the civilians on board my boat were pretty traumatized by what everything had happened. For me, it was like a flashback. I was like back in the Navy, back doing, you know, whatever I did in the Navy kind of thing. And I was on point. I'm very proud of how I handled everything. And I'll let you be the judge when the episode comes out, whether you think I handled it all properly or not. But I am very proud of how I handled everything. And it ended up being like a really scary situation for about 3 hours. And then after that, it was a really slow, humble situation until the sun came up. And we ended up pulling into Port Royal in Jamaica. The actual Jamaican Coast Guard came on board. They were amazing. They were hospitable. And I will even tell you this, that the Commandant of the Coast Guard and some other lieutenant of the Coast Guard came to check on us in port multiple times. Called me 10 times a day to make sure we were okay, and then physically came down to the marina where we were at to make sure we were okay. So massive shout out to the Jamaican Coast Guard and the Jamaican Navy and the Jamaican Kingston Pilots Office. You guys are amazing as well. So, okay, that was a lot. Let me get a drink of water here. Heyman says it's intense just listening to it. Bro, you should have been there. You should have been there. That's all I have to say at this point to it. Okay, so that is one other massive chapter out of the way. So keep in mind we have a goal on this boat. We have a goal. Let's go find sunken ships, find some treasure, and everybody gets rich, kind of thing. So Jamaica. Let me talk about Jamaica for a minute. Uh-oh, I might have to sneeze. Excuse me. So, did they stick to their guns saying that those pirates were part of the Coast Guard? I don't think that they acknowledged it completely on camera. They just continued to make sure we were okay. And they apologized for the situation and the manner in which it happened once. And I have that on camera. And then they really didn't address it again. They just addressed us, the safety of the boat, where we were, our maintenance, if we needed any help, and, you know, where we were going and what we were doing after that. So I guess technically, I think to answer your question, yes, they stuck to their guns saying that the pirates were part of the Coast Guard. Yes, they did. I think the real question here isn't did they stick to their guns. I think the real question here is what do you think would have happened if I let them board the boat, take control of the boat, and pull us into some random port on the far east end of Jamaica in the middle of the night? What do you think would have happened? I think that's the real question there. But you know what? It didn't happen because as you're going to watch in the episode, I didn't let them anywhere near my boat. Sorry, baby. You ain't coming on this boat. And you'll hear it. I mean, like, I'm like screaming, you know, boat to boat, 20 meters off in the middle of the ocean, rolling giant seas, 4 o'clock in the morning. I am letting these guys have it verbally. So Like, yeah, no way, homie. Not happening. I'm going to allow that comment. Just be careful. Say it like UGG or something when you're spelling those comments, but I'm going to allow that comment in there, okay? Yeah, not good at all, man. Not good at all. It was insane. All right, so let's take the pirate story and let's move it aside for a minute. I want to tell a quick, amazing story about Jamaica, and then we'll move on from there. When we were in Jamaica, we were there for a couple of days. We had to get provisions and we had to buy everything. You're good, Heyman. You're good, bro. When we were provisioning in Jamaica, I met a young lady who was a wine and liquor sales rep at one of the stores, auctioning off and selling wine. And she was very sweet, very gorgeous young lady, real Jamaican woman. And she invited me that evening to see the local area, taste the local flavor and color, and go out for the evening. And, you know, as a vlogger and a travel guy, I knew I had one night to myself after I put the crew to bed and the clients to bed on the boat. The boat's tucked safely in the marina. Everyone's got drinks, food. They're all happy. They're all sleeping. I went out for the night, and I went out and hung out with Jamaicans for the night in Jamaica. And I'm going to tell you the most amazing thing in the world. Now, I'm a homeopath. I don't take pills, prescription drugs, anything like that. I'm against all of that stuff. Synthetic drugs, opiates, I don't believe in it. I do support legal cannabis. We all know that cannabis is legal in Thailand, America, you know, places like that. We know that in the Philippines, it's going to be legal in the next 3 years. They're voting on it. Cannabis, aka weed, aka ganja, aka marijuana. Now, I'm in Jamaica, and I'm in Kingston, and there is a former home / museum of Bob Marley himself in the mountain highland areas there. Not in downtown waterfront Kingston, but like up and out towards the mountain provincial area. And after going to the bar, this cafe, the bar, and this club with these Jamaicans, later on that night, I ended up actually sitting on the front porch of what was Bob Marley's home / museum now thing. And a Jamaican woman rolled a spliff and smoked a spliff with me on Bob Marley's front porch. And I will tell you that was probably one of the coolest, most wild and amazing things, like life check boxes. I'm too young to have ever seen Bob Marley or seen who he was. I was very much influenced by him. I know every one of his songs. I've read the books, the biographies, the truth of who he really was, and very much an inspirational person. But I was too young to see him live or in real time. And so for me, that was the closest I could ever get. And I know a lot of Rasta people in the world and a lot of Rastafaris and you know, wannabe Jamaicans all over the world who would kill for an opportunity like that. So long story short, at the end of the night, I hung out with beautiful Jamaican people and smoked a spliff on Bob Marley's front porch in Jamaica. Life box check. I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever done in a very long time. Very stoked for it. And that was it. Boom. I left the next day. Never saw those people again. Had an amazing time. So again, to Bo, the yacht owner, my boss, thank you for letting me have a night off. It was great. I really appreciate it. And I'm very, very stoked. So yeah, I hope you guys like that little bit of positivity, and I think it's a really cool piece to everything that went down. So, all right, so let's get back to the story real quick because I want to end this here in the next 30 minutes or so. We've already at 1 hour. Thank you so much for everybody. Make sure you like this. Make sure you comment, ask me any questions, share this with the world. I have new episodes coming out. If you're watching this and you can't comment right now live, that is simply because I have it set on subscribers only. So if you're a subscriber and you click the subscribe button, you can comment on my live streams. You have to be a subscriber for 60 seconds or more in order to comment on my live streams. So I hope that answers some of you why you can't comment, because you're watching this, but you're not actually a subscriber to my channel. So hit that button. All right. Heyman says Bob Marley Jammin' has been the theme song of my life. LOL. That's so cool, bro. It was wild. It was cool beyond cool, and I am super humble and super blessed to have been able to experience what I experienced. So, all right, let's get back into this because now we need to get into the crazy, crazy serious stuff. Believe it or not, I'm just getting started. The expedition continued. The boat was fixed. The trauma nurse could not sail. The other sailing master could not sail with us. So it's half crew, MIT guy, expedition leader, dive master, myself, boat owner, and boat broker. That's the only people on board the boat at this point. 3 or 4 of the guys went home. We sailed south, horrible seas, giant swell. We found the locations where supposed ships had sunk. We started our search, we started our research, we were diving, we were searching, we were hunting for things in these top secret locations, which I'm not stupid. I'm not going to tell you where these places are. But we were there, and we were searching, and we were hunting for whatever you would consider us hunting for. Knowledge. Call it knowledge. There are, in this place where we went, it's a very dangerous reef. There is no land there. There's just reef. And so if the giant swell and wind is one way, then maybe there's like a little safe area to anchor inside the reef. Otherwise, it's impossible to be there. It's very dangerous. And even when we got there, there are shipwrecks all over the place, like modern day shipwrecks, like a boat that sank 10 years ago, a boat that sank 20 years ago, a giant cargo ship that sank. There were shipwrecks all over the place in this area. All these different reefs and atolls spreading from Jamaica to Nicaragua to Colombia. There are all these different areas out there, and there's shipwrecks all over all of these islands and all of these reefs. And it was really humbling to see like all these shipwrecks. So we were on this specific place, which I will not name, and when we were there, the current and the diving was like expert level diving. And one positive thing, I call this place Jurassic Park. The lobsters, the crabs, the fish were bigger and healthier than I've ever seen anywhere else, probably because it's so hard to get to these places. But when you see lobsters come out of the water nowadays, they're like 1 to 2 pounds, maybe 1 kilo at most, right? The lobsters that I was pulling out, and you're going to see them in the episodes coming up, the lobsters that I was shooting with my pole spears were up to 7, 8 kilos, massive, like this wide, this long. I would hold them on my leg, and they were the size of my leg. And you'll see in the video coming up, massive lobsters. Caribbean king crab, which is like almost extinct in almost every country in the Caribbean. Giant king crabs. Found those, had those for dinner. Giant grouper, wahoo, mahi, triggers, snappers, everything. We were eating like kings. It was amazing. The current was insane. The water was clearer than I've ever seen water on Earth. It was very much expert level diving and expert level free diving. Now, keep in mind, I'm not the dive master. There's a scuba dive master on board. There's an expedition leader on board. So they're in charge of safety. They're in charge of the diving, the operation. When I get in the water, my job is to spearfish for food, gather food, bring it back to the boat, and as the chef captain, present the fancy meals, the ceviche, the kinilau, the sushi, the fish and chips. I make all the fancy seafood. I make the cocktails. I keep the boat floating. And that's my job, period. Here's where everything went wrong. I'm a Navy man. I'm a safety man. I operate on standard operating procedures, protocol, safety, U.S. Navy right here, okay? I operate on a massive safety level, and I intend that everyone around me operate in the same manner. Like, if you're going to say you're the expedition leader on board, Herman, then Herman, you're in charge of safety. You're in charge of dive logs and airtime and when they went down and when they come back up and where they should be and dive buddies and safety briefings and safety meetings and all of these things. As an expedition leader with your partner dive master, that's your job. And I noticed that there was a lot of lackadaisicalness or people being ignorant to those safety measures and safety steps during this expedition. And the more, once we got on site and we finally started doing the heavy diving and the real searching and diving, I noticed that the expedition leader had none of this mindset. He didn't care about safety. He didn't have dive logs. He wasn't checking airtime, checking computers, logging hours, monitoring safety checks, monitoring safety divers. He was doing none of these things. And with the owner of the yacht next to me, I confronted him one evening. And I said these things to him. And I said, Herman, what are you doing? You're not doing any of the proper things that an expedition leader should do. You're not keeping these people safe. You need to step it up or something bad is going to happen. And I meant it. And I meant it, and I looked at him, and I was dead serious. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't arguing. I was telling him, like, man to man, Herman, you have got to keep these people safe. You've pushed me back several times and said, it's my expedition, let me lead. I'm asking you to lead and keep these people safe. And he then looked at me, and the owner of the yacht was a witness. He said, Dagan, stop preaching to me. I don't want to hear it. Stop preaching to me. I don't want to hear it anymore. I said, all right. And I walked away. Heyman says, Walmart grade safety manager. Very well spoken. I like that. Very well spoken. All right. My hands are shaking because this is where you guys are really gonna. All right, we're in an advertisement here, so this is great. I can take a deep breath. All right, ad number 2, skip ads. All right, skip ads. Okay. This is where it all went wrong. Now, the night before it all went wrong was the night that I gave that final come to Jesus speech with the expedition leader. And I mean, like, if you ask my friends here who I captain for in the Philippines, their nickname for me is Captain Safety. They are so annoyed by me when I'm on the boat because of how many safety measures I take and how many times I have canceled trips, canceled expeditions, and canceled charters because it's not safe. We're turning back, we're going home. Or we're not leaving at all because it's not going to be safe. They call me Captain Safety here because of how intense my safety measures and protocols are. That night, I warned him. He told me to shut up and stop preaching to him. I have witnesses to that. The next day, we started diving again. Everyone went diving. I went hunting. I made breakfast. We had a dive. I made lunch, and everybody prepared for another dive. I went out to go hunt big lobsters and shoot a couple of triggerfish. And oh, God. I've been avoiding telling you guys this for weeks and months. It's literally kept me up at night, my eyes and the stress. I have hair falling out from the stress of the next couple minutes of story. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The tide and the wind is flowing. We're anchored right alongside the reef. The master diver is out doing his thing. The yacht owner and our main financier, main client, Neil, who you're going to see in the videos, becomes like my best friend in the whole world. Like, within the 6 weeks we were together, absolutely clicked. The guy was amazing. He's from Colorado, self-made businessman, very successful, very humble person. And he was diving on the second dive of the day for him and Bo, the owner of the yacht, and they were diving off in about 45 to 48 feet of water on the starboard side of the yacht, out in the ocean there. And I was diving on the shallower side in the reef, hunting. And at about 1:50-ish p.m., I'm swimming back towards the boat. I am about 100 feet behind the boat. I'm trying to differentiate between feet and meters for you guys. And I have a fish and a lobster and a spear gun and a pole spear and a GoPro and a dive belt and all this gear with me and everything. And I'm snorkeling back at this point, and I hear screams, blood-curdling screams. And I immediately pop my head up, and I look over towards the boat, and I see two of the people on board the boat, the MIT guy and the yacht broker guy, going like this. And then I look up, and I see Bo, the owner of the yacht, swimming towards me. And he sees me pop up, and he pops up, and he goes, "Help, Neil is drowning." He might have said Neil is dying. I don't know at this point. I dive under the water. I look to the right, and in about 70, 80 feet away is Neil, a meter under the water, upside down, floating lifelessly. I am so grateful for my military training and for everything that I've been through. Lifeguard growing up, water rescue, ocean rescue, and then military training, rescue swimmer, everything like that I've been through and learned over the years, because this was like the first moment in a long time where everything clicked for me and everything turned on for me. And I cut my gear off. I dropped everything, all of my gear, my equipment, my cameras. I dropped everything. And I immediately turned and started to swim as fast as I could towards Neil. Bo swimming, trying to keep up with me alongside me. And it's an image that I can't get out of my head to this day, and it's kept me up at night for weeks and weeks now. Neil, and I got to be careful here because I know that Neil's family is going to watch this, and I promised them that I would be as, I'm going to do right by Neil. Neil was floating upside down, and I'll never forget. And please, if you have children watching this, I know that I have nieces and nephews that are going to watch my live streams. You might need to take them out of the room for this. So I'm going to give a little parental warning here. You might need to take the children out of the room. And if you're squeamish in any way, I apologize for what's the details that I'm about to tell. I'll never forget this image, and I'll never get this image out of my head of Neil's mask full of pink fluid. And I knew at that point, and he was already yellow, that like he was in trouble. And if you've never seen a drowning victim before, I really pray that you never have to. So my training kicked in. I grabbed Neil. I flipped him up right upside up, brought him to the surface, ripped his mask off, threw it, and started to slap him on the face and sternum rub him and try to get his face out of the water as best I could. Meanwhile, I'm ripping all of his gear off, his dive gear, his scuba gear, everything, his fins. I'm ripping everything off of him. Bo gets to me alongside me, and he's struggling. And I look at, and Bo's like, "I can't do this. I'm exhausted." And I realized that Bo was diving alongside Neil. And so I'm like, "Okay, Bo, you're going to cause more of an issue for me. Go back to the boat. Go back to the boat and get the boat ready to receive the casualty." And Bo leaves, and I then put Neil in 3-point combat side stroke, which is recovery method for most standard rescue swimming techniques, where I have him like this with his head and shoulder up out of the water, and I am swimming sideways like this. Now keep in mind, I'm well over 100 feet from the boat, the wind and tide going against me, the current going against me at about 2.5, 3 knots, and I'm dragging a 220-pound guy all the way back to the boat. if you've ever seen the movie, it's hard for me to explain the situation, but if you've ever seen the movie The Abyss, and if you haven't, I recommend watching it. But where he's swimming his wife, who had drowned, back to the boat, and he's telling the boat crew, get the defib kit, get the, and this is exactly how it was for me. I'm screaming to the boat as I'm doing this. I'm dragging Neil and I'm screaming, get the trauma kit, get the air, get the AED out, the defibrillator, get the epinephrine out, get the radios out, call in the Mayday, throw me the life ring. Please, God, throw the life ring so that you can pull me in. And I will say that one person on the boat was pretty coherent in doing all of this, and that was the MIT person that was on board the boat. I noticed that he was doing those things, and when I got to the boat, everything was out where I needed it, except for the air. I got Neil to the boat. It took me about, I don't know, 4-5 minutes to get him to the boat. We get Neil on board the boat. He's yellowish blue at this point. I immediately kick in AED, CPR, oxygen, intubation, which is tube in the throat to clear the airways, oxygen mag, breathing mask. I start CPR. CPR in itself is a traumatizing thing. Traditionally, on weak, soft, older people or children, proper CPR can break ribs, and that's another traumatic experience in its own. But I mean, we started everything. We did everything. I did everything. I will unfortunately say that several of the people on board the boat panicked at this point. 3 of them basically froze like chickens with their head cut off. And then tragically, the one guy who probably could have helped me, the dive master, was scuba diving somewhere else underwater. So he was completely unaware of what was happening, so he couldn't help me. I'm telling people to grab their phones and call the Mayday and call on the radio and hand me the epinephrine pins and get me the IED, get me towels to get him dry. I've got his legs elevated. I'm flipping him over to aspirate his lungs. I put 2 epinephrine pins throughout the CPR into his chest, trying to revive him. 45 minutes into, no, sorry, I'm sorry. And this has all been documented already, but 35 minutes into CPR resuscitation, the dive master comes up from diving. I drag him on board as fast as I can. I get him to relieve me on CPR. I finally then am able to go to the radio because for some reason these grown men can't competently make in a Mayday call because they're all panicking and they don't have proper training. And I go to get the Mayday calls in, pan, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. I got 2 different radios, ship-to-shore radios going on. I have a cell phone going on. Within 5 minutes, I'm on the phone with Coast Guard Station Puerto Rico, Coast Guard Station Jamaica, Coast Guard Station Miami. I'm on the phone now with the chief flight medical surgeon for Coast Guard Station Miami on the phone. I have then relieved the radio from the Jamaican Coast Guard, who continued to bother me with information they needed, and I'm just ignoring them at this point. Sorry, Jamaican Coast Guard, I don't have time. This is triage. I have to decide what's important here. And I'm on the phone with the chief medical officer of the U.S. Coast Guard Station Miami, and I tell him, hey, I went to Navy Corpsman School. I was a former Coast Guard, former civilian lifeguard, rescue swimmer, and I'm very well trained in all of these things. And I have a full trauma kit on board. Here's what I've done. Here's what I'm doing. And we walk through the whole situation. And at 55 minutes, the doctor on the phone says, you know just as well as I do, he's gone. And I had to make the decision at that point to look at the expedition leader of the boat. And I will tell you that I did it with a little bit of anger, obviously, and a little bit of emotion. And I told him, you're in charge of this. You need to call this. Now, when I say call this, this means call the time of death. Sadly and tragically, Neil did not make it. I believe in the bottom of my heart that I did everything I could. I have gone through the playlist of everything I could have done, would have done, or should have done, and with the situation at hand, where we were, what we had on board, I did everything I could. Obviously, there's a little bit more detail to the story. I don't need to tell you guys, but at the end of the day, a man's life was lost on board, and how and why and what happened is for a different time. Neil's family deserves the respect and the privacy of those details and those information of what actually happened to him, why he drowned, why he didn't make it, what happened, what caused him to start drowning even though he was scuba diving. All of those finite details are for myself and Neil's family to process and deal with, and I'm not going to share them publicly online. Other than the fact that it is public knowledge that it appears that Neil had some kind of heart issue while diving. And the reason that I could not save him, and the reason that the AED machine, the defibrillator machine, never advised shock is because the AED machine the defibrillator machine never found a heart rhythm. From the moment I pulled Neil on board the boat to 55 minutes later ending resuscitation attempts and rescue attempts, he was already gone. In the military, we lose people. In war, we lose people. Cancer, tragic accidents. It is different when it's in the civilian world in a traumatic event like this, where you're desperately alone in the middle of the ocean. You are the captain. You are in charge. You're supposed to be in charge, and it's your duty and responsibility to keep these people safe. And you can't. It's really, really difficult. And it's really, really hard to go through something like that. And I know that, you guys, it's hard for you guys to imagine. I'm trying to explain it as best I can here respectfully, but it really, really hits you when you lose someone like that. And there's parts of it I just can't get out of my head, and I haven't, honestly, I haven't really had a chance to deal with it, because directly after that, you have so many things to do. We cut cord, like we dropped our gear, dropped spears, dropped equipment, picked up the anchor, and immediately started sailing through the worst weather possible all the way to the Cayman Islands, which was days away. And you have to keep in mind that I now have a deceased human being's body on board my boat. And this yacht is not capable of accommodating that. I don't have a morgue. I don't have a freezer on board my boat. So we then had to respectfully, peacefully wrap up Neil's body and leave it on the back of the boat with us and sail home back to the Cayman Islands, to the Cayman Islands, which was our next destination on board our trip. The Coast Guard came on board. They did their investigation, the Cayman Island Police, the homicide, CSI, and then everything was legit. Everyone gave their statements. I handled everything by the book. I know paperwork. I know jurisdictional rights, maritime rights, and laws. I handled everything as proper as could be. Was immediately in contact with Neil's family. Neil's son and I worked closely together to handle the whole situation. it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to process. But at the end of the day, it was one of the most intense, humbling experiences of my life. I will never stop diving. I will never stop sailing or being a captain. I feel that I am more learned and more experienced, and my opinions and my thoughts and emotions and my gut feelings and my safety measures and protocols are even more validated at this point after dealing with something like this. And, like I said, I've been avoiding telling you guys this for weeks and weeks and weeks to get it all out. And obviously I wanted to give, Neil's family time to mourn and time to process and time to deal with it. They've already had his funeral and everything. And to lose somebody on board your boat when you're in command, it'll change you. And it has changed me. I see that a couple people have come on. Hey, man, I read what you say. Thank you so much. Joe Vanessa is on board. Hey, if you missed it, you're going to have to go back and watch. Miss Deborah Beal is on board. Deepest sympathies. Thank you so much. These are my channel member, premium members here. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being there for me. I'm actually not done yet with my story. I got to get everything off my chest so that I can end this podcast and then move on to brighter and more vibrant futures. Excuse me. So I've now dealt with all of this. I've processed it. We got Neil off the boat. They took him to the morgue and they processed him and sent him home to America to his family. Most of the crew left. The expedition was canceled at that point. The yacht owner left and flew home, and me and the other sailmaster on board the boat, the other captain, partnered up and sailed the yacht all the way home by ourselves over the next week and a half. Everything was good to go. After that, there were no real issues or complications on board the boat. But tragically, I do have to tell you that if you guys are fans of the channel and you've been watching for a long time, this is a whole nother story piece to this. I woke up 3 days after leaving the Cayman Islands and dealing with the Neil tragedy. I woke up to hundreds of messages and missed calls on my phone from here in the Philippines, which made no sense to me. And I couldn't figure out why at first. And we had really bad internet out there in the ocean for a couple of days. And when I woke up from my watch at midnight, I had all these missed calls and all these messages, and I had no idea why. Now, if you guys are fans of the channel and you've been watching for a while and you've watched all my episodes, you'll know that my uncle, one of my best friends, David, has moved to the Philippines recently, and he had been coming and visiting for the last 2 years. He actually visited the first time when my ex was here with me 2 years ago, and then has since come back 3 times since then because he just fell in love with the Philippines. He even brought his wife with him on one of the trips, and we had a blast together, hanging out and traveling and partying. And the last trip he came back right before I left in February. He came back to the Philippines, and at this point, he technically came back like full time, and he was going to. I don't really know what his plans were long term. I'm not him. He's a grown man. He makes his own decisions, but he seemed to be setting up some kind of roots or some kind of idealistic dreams here in the Philippines, where he wanted to like transition himself, his family, whatever, here to the Philippines. 3 days after leaving the Cayman Islands and dealing with the tragedy of Neil on board the boat, I was informed that Uncle David passed away while in the Philippines. And that's why everybody was calling me, and that's why everybody was looking out for me. and trying to let me know, because there were no next of kin. There was no family members in the Philippines to help process what was going on. And so everyone was trying to find me while I was out in the middle of the ocean to handle that. Now, keep in mind that I had nowhere near started to process what had just happened on the boat. And now I had to process losing one of the most inspirational male figures in my life, more of a father to me than anything, a godfather to my daughter, my best friend and fishing buddy of 20, I think it was 24 years. I did the math, 24 years hanging out with this guy. And he died here in the Philippines doing what he loves, traveling and living life to the fullest. And it was very tragic. Again, I think it was a very similar situation to what happened to Neil, unfortunately. But unfortunately, Uncle David is no longer with us. And so, so now I hope you guys can take a deep breath and put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces together and see this massive ball of stress and pain and anxiety that I have been dealing with for the last couple months, and everything that's happened, and why I fell off the grid, disappeared, didn't have any episodes up. I didn't really know what to do and how to tell you guys all of this stuff. I mean, even now I don't know. I mean, I scripted and wrote a bunch of it, but how do you tell the world negatives and ugly and sad and tragedy when everyone's so afraid of tragedy and everyone avoids tragedy and no one wants to hear the uglies of the world? They just want to see the happy and the positive because everyone's so afraid of the ugly truth of how harsh the world is in reality. In retrospect, I was really nervous to tell everybody everything, so I didn't share it all with you guys. But here I am. I'm here. I'm telling you guys, and I hope that you can appreciate my honesty, and I hope you guys can understand why I waited so long to tell everybody. And I'll let you guys know that from the bottom of my heart, I wouldn't be here without you guys and your support and your love and your emotional support. And it's not the end for me. I'm not going to let it bring me down anymore. I'm on my way back up. It has been rough. It has been tough. I took a shower 2 weeks ago and combed my hair, and like a ball of my hair this big came out. So like the stress got to the point where I wasn't sleeping and my hair was falling out. So I had to get public with it. I had to address everything, and I had to tell you guys everything that was going on. And I'm really appreciative of the fact that you guys are here and that you're listening. And if you're going to watch this episode after the live, I'm sorry that I can't respond immediately to your comments, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching and supporting and listening. And I hope that you guys can, understand and validate and respect the time I took off and the time where I didn't do any episodes and I kept everything quiet and respectful. And I just hope that I don't lose anybody through all of this, because I love each and every one of you guys. And my prayers and heart and love go out to Neil's family and David's family, who's my family. Yeah, that is... That's my story. That's everything that's happened. Since then, I'm home. I'm in the Philippines. I'm processing. I'm dealing with it. I'm enjoying my friends and family. It's almost fiesta here. My birthday is in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. I'm trying to bring the light back to my spirit and soul. I'm trying to get back to the reality of everything. And I hope that you guys will be there for me and with me when we grow and move through all of this. Let's see here. I'm reading what you guys have wrote now. Check in the comments. Heyman, I appreciate it. Joe Vanessa, welcome to the game. This is what you've missed lately. Sorry. Joe Vanessa says she remembers Uncle David. Heyman says, I'm sorry. I appreciate it. Big hugs from Joe Vanessa. Heyman says, you have to have an outlet for all of this too, though. It's a lot to hold in. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. I appreciate it. I appreciate that, man. I'm trying. I'm really trying. Joe Vanessa says, thank you for sharing. Deb says, be sure to keep decompressing, and grief takes time to heal, and love you. I love you. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much. It's been a humble and wild couple of months. I'm so glad I didn't eat breakfast, because I am as nauseous as could be telling you guys all this. But now I feel like I need to go get some fresh air and go have some lunch. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I just told all that. All right. It's all out there. This is another episode. This is technically episode 144, live stream. I hope you guys are thankful and grateful for my honesty and my candor. And I hope you guys understand everything I've been through and that you can respect it. I do have new episodes coming out. I do have merchandise finally coming out. I have a website, millenniallegends.com, up and running. Not fully operational yet, but we're designing it this week. Adam, my biggest supporter in the world and web developer, is helping me with all of that. Big shout out to him. Couldn't be here without you. My Navy brother, Mo, helped me design my new graphics for my new stickers and some of my new logos and labels. So Mo, I love you. Thank you, Mo, for helping me with all of that. We have some amazing stuff coming up, and I am going to live my life to the absolute fullest in honor of those who can no longer. And that's my goal, and that's what I'm going to do. I have plans for this month here. We're going to take a quick break. It looks like we're on an advertisement right now. You can watch the ad or you can skip ads. All right, we've skipped ads. Thank you so much for watching the ads. React PT says, I have no words to say, but sorry, I can't fathom where you're at now. But again, I have been following. Thank you. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate all of you guys. I could not be here without you. I honestly, I love you guys, each and every one of you. I'm manifesting. I'm giving it my all. I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to stop. It's been a humbling world, especially to do it alone out here. To process and have to deal with all of this alone out here has been even more of a challenge, but I feel like I needed to do it on my own. I love each and every one of you. I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. It has been 1 hour and 38 minutes on the podcast, so I'm very happy and very proud of this podcast. This is my new software again. Big shout out to GoPro. Big shout out to DJI for giving us the new equipment, new GoPros, everything. Really, really excited for this. They didn't give it to me. I bought it. I'm not sponsored by them, but I wish I could be. It sounds like the monsoon has continued, so it's pouring rain outside, so I'm going to go ride in the rain and go get some lunch. And take a deep breath and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. It is Sunday here in the Philippines. Heyman says, take good care of yourself. Thank you again. Looking forward to the upcoming vids. You're an awesome dude. Joe Vanessa says, take care and stay safe. Hearts, I love you guys. I love all of you. I wouldn't be here without you. I love each and every one of you. You're all legends in your own story. Live every day like it is going to be the last, because you have no idea. You have no idea what's coming in tomorrow. And don't waste time. Don't waste energy on toxic people, toxic situations. And remember that you are responsible for every step you take forward in your life. So take those steps wisely. Follow your dreams, conquer your emotions and dreams, and be completely honest and open with everybody, and hold back what you need to until you're ready. And then when you're ready, you got to tell everybody what's going on in life, because I got to tell you, from 2 hours ago before I gave this podcast to right now, how I feel is night and day. I feel like I need to just go sleep for the next 2 days and take a deep breath, because I finally have let it all out. So, yeah. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast and this stream, and I will see you guys this week and our upcoming premieres and our new episodes. I love each and every one of you. Peace and love from the bottom of my heart. You're all legends in your own story. God bless. I'll see you all soon. Peace and love, you guys. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and become a channel member to support my journey. I love you guys.